Good evening, everyone. How the devil are you? It's Friday. I'd like to say the sun is shining, but it isn't here. But nevertheless, it's Friday. The beer is cold. The beer is poured. Cheers, everyone. Welcome to the weekend. Unlike last week when I had a couple of bits of stuff to announce to you all, and there was a vague plan for last week's video, for last week's live stream. I've got no such thing in mind this week. Yet again, I'm sat staring at the webcam and reading the chat, which I'm going to get to in a moment, and hoping that I can find something to talk about for the next hour or so. So, as always, let's do the register. Let's see who was first in. And Danny Hancock once again. Have we started like Christmas comes round sooner and sooner? Don't start talking about Christmas yet, mate, please. And Michael Dodds is saying, chaps, do you know how to get a crunch sound out of a Vox VX1 amp? Excuse me. Well, there is one in there, Michael. Give me an email and maybe we can sort out the time for you to pop round and I'll give you a hand with that. Anton's in. Dr. Gomez, Johnny H, Michael Palmer, Phil, Luke's in, and so is Edwin Toon and Johnny Random, Grandpa Joe, James Hunt, Gearview Mirror, Cowas Music. Yes. I hope the guitar reaches you in good shape there, Thomas. Thomas is the winner of the Harley Benton giveaway from last week, and the nice man from DPD came and picked the guitar up yesterday. And was it yesterday? I can't remember. Anyway, it was. I'm all at sea with me days this week. Anyway, the guitar is on its way to you, courtesy of DPD. Cal B is in. As is Mike Hurley, Malcolm Spillett, 60s Man, and Peter Collins. And we've got Robert Z, or I suppose being from Indiana, you prefer Robert Z. Deco Dude, Robster Boy, John Channing, and John Ross. EM, and who else we got? Frank Bolam, Steve Muskie. And we've got Mega Lock Jelly. Is that how that's pronounced? I'm not too sure about that. Apologies, I've just butchered it, mate. Scott Guitars, Dan, welcome in, mate. Who else we got? The Time Prophet. And William Forrest and Patrick Becker and who else? Scotty the Fox, Steve Lamb, Paul Bush. Jimmy James, Anton's in, Colin Falcon, David Evans, John Mack, George Wall, Pablo Hank, Tom Culhane, and who else we got? Dave Lewis, Bottleneck Bob. Nice to see you, Bob. You're on the Guinness tonight, are you, mate? Chris Redding's in, Cylon Hybrid, Dave Pegg, and Brad Matthews, and who else we got? All the usual suspects, as I always say, round about this time of the evening, every Friday. In case anybody's interested, this evening I'm drinking, it was going to be Heineken. That's what the nice man from Asda brought this morning, but I've had a few guitars delivered today. I'll tell you how that corresponds to the Cronenberg in a second. But basically, yes, this guy who loans me guitars from time to time, a chap called David. He's been round today with a couple of very, very nice guitars. There's going to be something of a Les Paul slant on the channel in the coming weeks, because he's brought a couple of Les Pauls with him, one of which is very, very special indeed. But you'll have to wait for the video on that one to come out. He hasn't given me them, no. They're just going to be here on loan for me to do videos with. And so anyway, when he came round, he brought me 4 cans of Cronenberg for the live stream tonight. What a gentleman and a scholar. I might have to get him on the channel sometime for a chat, and we'll talk about his extensive guitar collection. He's a really interesting bloke to talk to about guitars, you know, if you're into guitars, I suppose. Which, why else would we be here? Oh, thank you very much, Chaos Music. You're a gentleman and a scholar, sir. Yeah, let's get down to business. What have we got going on the channel this week? Well, in case I forgot, because age is a cruel mistress, I decided to write it down once again. On Sunday, because there's no Saturday video this week, on Sunday we're looking at a Les Paul. Not this one. Not this one. That comes later in the week. This is obviously my latest acquisition. We are looking at a Epiphone Les Paul, one of the cheap ones, one of the kind of entry-level bolt-on-neck Epiphone Les Pauls that has been sent to me to pass on to Zoe's place. So we're going to give that a little bit of a once-over and see just how good the entry-level. Dear me, Chaos Music, you are truly on form. Thank you so much. To quote Mike from China Guitar Skeptic, never solicited but always appreciated. Thank you so much. So yeah, we're giving that Epiphone Les Paul a bit of a once-over on Sunday. Then on Monday, I realised it's been almost a year since I did a David Gilmour solo, and I could easily do a David Gilmour solo once a month, but I think I'll limit myself to once or maybe twice a year. So we're looking at the solo from Money on Monday. Then Tuesday. Well, Tuesday, as you know, is a top 5 video, and I've just finished actually doing not this Tuesday's top 5 video, but the week after, like next week. Well, the next but one Tuesday. Anyway, I've just finished doing that top 5 video, and it's a real good one. You don't want to miss that one. But this coming Tuesday, I'm busting the 5 biggest music theory myths. Things that people who aren't really kind of into music theory, maybe a little bit intimidated by music theory, maybe, these are the things that make them shy away from, kind of making inroads into understanding it. All of these kind of myths and misconceptions about music theory, I'm busting the 5 biggest ones on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, it's going to be, another rhythm guitar video. This week, we're looking at basics of funk guitar. And what we're doing is that we're actually looking at a funk rhythm that links both Pink Floyd and Bryan Adams. Yes, puzzle on that one for a while if you like. And then on Thursday, Thursdays have sort of settled into being either an unboxing or a review video, and that's going to be this guitar, the Les Paul Tribute. I'm still mulling over whether it's going to be the Les Paul, the new Les Paul, or the Yamaha Revstar, which becomes the sort of the one that's allowed to get its feet under the table here permanently. But that's not going to be Thursday's video. That's coming in the next run of videos that I'll be announcing this time next week. So that's what's coming up on the channel this week, up as far as Thursday. And what happens after Thursday? This is what happens after Thursday. Anyway, let's have a look and see what's been going on in the chat. Where are we? What you been talking about? Time Prophet saying Les Pauls are too wide for my little fingers. Thank you. Thank you, Chaos Music. That was for Zoe's place. You are a gentleman, sir. And what else we got going on here? And that first one was for the next few beers. Again, thank you so much. Right. And Johnny Random saying is, where did that go to? Don't you just hate it when the website moves? Johnny Random is saying, is Money the funk bit for Floyd? No. Just think about a Pink Floyd song, a massive Pink Floyd song, that was, that had sort of a disco feel to it. It's obvious which one it is when you know what it is. I'll put you out your misery. It's the funk rhythm we're looking at is the rhythm that is used on Another Brick in the Wall, which is exactly the same rhythm that Bryan Adams used on Somebody, from the Reckless album. That's just somebody asking about a tube screener. Open question: do I need a tube screamer? Are they worth buying? Well, it depends if you like the sound of them or not. Really, they are a very particular sound, and if you like the sound of a tube screamer, then yes, you definitely need one. So, what's a tube screamer good for? It's good for taking an amp that is on the verge of breakup. That's just kind of, if you pick softly, you get a kind of just a clean sound, and if you kind of dig in a bit, you get like a kind of classic rock. I always think of it as a Bad Company or maybe an AC/DC kind of rhythm guitar tone. And if you want to turn that into like a screaming lead part, then a tube screamer is the ideal pedal for that. Don't buy an Ibanez tube screamer though, because you really just searching for these rare ones, from the vintage ones. You can do a lot worse than get one of these, which is a Behringer vintage tube overdrive. These are about 20 quid on Amazon, and they sound identical to a tube screamer, to an actual tube screamer. Or you remember that pedal that I unboxed on last week's live stream that Ian very generously sent to me, the SMJ tube drive pedal. I'll show you it. Here it is here. I've just been filming. There it is there, a little tiny weeny thing down there. I've just been filming the video for that today. And spoiler alert, get yourself one of those. They're about twice the price of the Behringer, but they are really worth it. They've got, well, I won't give away the results of the video, but yes, they are really good. A little bit more versatile than a standard tube screamer or tube screamer clone. Sam's Budget Guitars is saying, have you used an EBO, and if so, are they any good? It's one of my bucket list things to get is an EBO. Gear for Music had like an EBO type device in at a good price a little while back, and I should have jumped on it, but I just never got round to it. And there was other things I needed to spend the money on at the time. But yeah, there will be a review coming on the channel at some point, because I remember, what was it, Stuart Adamson in Big Country? He used to use one. I used to love their sort of stuff back in the 80s. I did a solo analysis back then, not that long ago, didn't I? Well, last year sometime probably, of one of his solos, one where he wasn't using an EBO. And what was that question up there? Megaloch Jelly. I do apologise if I'm not pronouncing that correct. Says, so John, do you think mid-range guitars have improved as much as entry-level guitars from the 80s? I do indeed. I think basically a rising tide lifts all ships. It's. I don't think you have to go that far back as far as the 80s. For instance, just mid-price guitars. I mean, you're talking sort of made in Mexico Fender kind of level, aren't you? I think the current made in Mexico Fenders, the Player Series guitars, are in a different league really to the previous incarnation of the made in Mexico Fenders. I was never a big fan of the standard Strat, the previous made in Mexico Fenders. I didn't think they were, they didn't feel like proper Fenders to me. And that's probably a controversial thing to say, but I just didn't think they were, I thought there was like a big difference between those and the USA Fenders. These days with the Player Series Strats, I don't think there's a big difference between those and the USA ones. I just, I had one in here, and you may recall, oh gosh, just a little bit less than a year ago. I think it was last August or thereabouts, July or August. I had the Player Series Strat in here, and I remember saying, if you're into Strats and you want a good Strat, then it's hard to imagine what else you could want out of a Strat that this guitar doesn't offer. Thing is, I wasn't into Strats at the time, so I got rid of it. Where are we? Where are we? Just have a look. Yes, Colin. Colin's been in touch with me on email the past couple of days. He's just got himself the Harley Benton SC552 cracking guitar. They are. They really are. It's. I mean, talking about how guitars have improved, like budget guitars especially, have improved, in recent times. There's an example there. I mean, 250 quid or thereabouts, and you're getting decent quality Alnico pickups. You're getting stainless steel frets. Dear me, what a cracking guitar that is. It's. I would say I'm sorry to see mine go, but for obvious reasons, I didn't really need. I didn't really need it anymore. Excuse me. I'm just going to pour myself another gauge. And I noticed in the chat there was no speculation on what the Robson household will be dining on this evening. So in case anybody has placed a bet on that without me noticing, this evening it is once again kebab night. We're having a curry on Sunday this week because it's the wife's birthday. So as I said, and she said, well, we can't have a kebab on the Friday as well as a curry on the Sunday. I said, well, why can't we? I said, it's a special treat. If we just have one takeaway on a weekend, then that's not a special treat. And it's your birthday. You deserve a special treat. So we're having a kebab and a curry. You see, that's my logic. Let's have a look down here. Yeah, I'm with you there, Michael. For me, a Les Paul isn't complete without its scratch plate. Other people hate them. What is your Marmite on this issue? I prefer the scratch plate on, to be honest. It's just part of what that guitar should look like. But I understand some people don't like it. I mean, Gary, Mr. Moore, always used to take the pick guard off his Les Pauls, didn't he? And the same with the poker chip. I just think that when that little area of the guitar is naked without the switch ring on it, it just looks incomplete somehow or other. Where's that gone to? Anton saying, it's a sure bet it's not fish and chips. How can you not go down the chippy on a Friday? Here, the thing is, Anton, I live within what I always call slipper walking distance of a really good fish and chip shop. If you saw that video where I kind of took you on a little tour of Redcar, dear me, again, last year sometime or other. I forget when I do these videos. There's that many of them that they all sort of, I lose track of when they were. But, really, really close to a really good fish and chip shop. And, I have to walk past it every day, and there is nothing like the smell of hot lard. There really isn't, is there? Hot lard, salt and vinegar. Quite often we have we partake from the fish and chip shop on a midweek, especially if I've got like lessons stacked up all day, and I've got like maybe half an hour to grab something to eat. It's just too easy to just nip round the corner to the fish and chip shop. Fish, chips, mushy peas. Thank you very much. That'll do me. Yeah, Dave Lewis is saying he's put poker chips on two of my Larry Carltons. I've still got unfinished business with those Larry Carlton guitars. It's I keep wanting to get one of the T7s, the Telecaster ones, but I know that it'll get here, and I'll just there's no way I'm letting this guitar go. There's no way and I need to get a few guitars through here that are literally just going to be livestock, where I'm doing the review and selling them on. I've had quite a few lately where I can't let this go, and I know that would fall into that category. So I might just have to hold me fire on that for a little while. Having just bought a Les Paul, I do need to kind of build up the slush fund a little bit to fund a few more guitar purchases, which is where friends like David come in really, really handy when they just say, get in touch. Say, I've just got a new guitar. Do you want to borrow it to do a video? Of course I do. Yes. What's that, Jeff? My 2-year-old Sir amp blew a valve. I contacted them just for info on a replacement. They've paid to ship them back for warranty and repair and circuit update. Great service. Yeah, I mean, prestige sort of boutique companies like that either go one of two ways, I find. They either realise that they are, they've got a good name and they want to keep it, and they'll bend over backwards to help. Or it'll be like, yes, but we're a prestige company, and you're just a little person, go away. I mean, I think we can all think of one or two guitar companies and manufacturers that take that latter attitude. But that's a great story, mate. Yeah, nice to know. Who's saying 5 favourite? You're really suggesting I do a top 5 Tuesday, Muskie, on what my 5 favourite takeaways are. It would probably be curry, kebab, fish and chips, Chinese, and what else would there be? Well, possibly there's a fantastic burger place we've got in Redcar called Cluck and Moo. That are, they do chicken, they do sort of rotisserie chickens, and they do burgers. And if you can finish one of their burgers, then you're a greedier man than I am, or a hungrier man than I am, because the portions are ridiculous. So that, I tell you what the 5th one would be, a good old Teesside staple, the Parmo. If you don't know what a Parmo is, Parmo, Google it and you'll find out. Where are we? Okay, anyone recommend a Strat Trem upgrade to cope with Jeff Beck stuff? Basically, that a regular non-locking trem will handle that sort of stuff, providing the guitar is well set up. You want first of all, locking tuners. Get locking tuners on there. You want a really, really slippery nut of some kind, like a graphite nut or something like that. Roller string trees, and the trem that I've always found stays in tune, like the traditional sort of, even just like the 6-screw one, like a really old traditional Strat style trem that is very, very hard to put out of tune, is the Wilkinson one. I don't know why. I think it's something to do when you look at the holes in the bridge block. They're not in a straight line, they're staggered. And I do remember vaguely, a little kind of vague memory at the back of my head, an interview with Trev Wilkinson where he was saying that, experimentation and trial and error led him to kind of have that particular pattern of staggered string holes in the back of the trem block. But my old vintage V6 Strat copy had that trem in it, and that was, you could dive bomb on it. But this was in the days when I used to kind of do that sort of thing, that kind of shenanigans. I put it had like the staggered Wilkinson Easy Lock tuners on it anyway, so you didn't need string trees. And yeah, it was a great trem for staying in tune. It's just basically about eliminating friction, really. So if you can, just graphite nut, locking tuners, roller string trees, or staggered tuners, if you can get those on, and a Wilkinson trem, that would be a pretty good option, just on my experience, Anyway, what we're talking about in the chat? Ian Clark, grow up, Ian. He said slippery nut. Yes, who misses? You ever mix graphite powder and a dab of Vaseline for the nut? Yes, I have done that in a pinch. I had a Washburn. I don't know what model it was, but it was a HSS Strat style thing back in the early 90s. I had it for about 6 months. And that was like just a stock sort of vintage style tremolo that would not stay in tune, like breathe on it and it would go out of tune. And a little bit of graphite and we just ground up pencil lead. And he is getting really nerdy here. I found that if you got like you went to like your local stationery shop and bought like artist's pencils where you've got like the different grades of lead. If you get the really kind of there's HB, isn't there? And then there's the ones that are harder than that, the H grades, go down into the B grades. So you got B1, B2, B3, those kind of softer pencils. The graphite from them somehow or other makes better trem lubrication. And mix it with a little bit of Vaseline. The only thing is with the Vaseline, it does tend to gum up the strings, and suddenly that new fresh set of strings sound like they've been on about a month by the time you've used the guitar a couple of days. But it did help stay in tune. Great tip there, Dash Shaft. Locksmiths use graphite powder for lubricating locks. So maybe if you can, get your hands on some locksmith supplies, then get some graphite powder of the type that locksmiths use. I did not know that. Craig's in. How are you, Craig? Better late than never, mate. Where are we? I know Jimmy James is saying 220 watching. I know 220 people turning up to watch, well, as the title of the stream says, a fat, bald northern lad talking rubbish and drinking beer. It never ceases to amaze me. And I just want to say this again, I say it most weeks, then that, there are certain YouTube channels, but, that do the same sort of thing that I do, guitar-related stuff, and they do live streams, and they've got many more subscribers than my, humble 24,000 or whatever it is at the moment. And you kind of look at their live streams and you see, there's like 40, 50 people watching, and, here I am, and there's 220 of you turning up to watch me. I really can't tell you how humbling and gratifying that is. Thank you once again, everybody. Cheers. Time Profit. I have a Floyd Rose tremolo, so I've got to screw my strings down. Yeah. I'm planning on doing a top 5 video on, it's just a vague idea in my mind at the moment. But basically, Something to do with, solutions to problems that didn't exist, that kind, the kind of thing where it's like, is that really a problem that needs solving? Sledgehammers to crack walnuts, that kind of thing. And, the Floyd Rose will be a part of that, because here's the thing, go and listen to early 70s recordings of Ritchie Blackmore, kind of really kind of doing a load of trem abuse on just a standard Strat tremolo and not really having any issues with tuning, so far as I could see. I mean, listen to Black Knight, the kind of whammy abuse that he's giving the trem on that. And, non-locking and everything. And then because in the 70s wore on, Fender just had ridiculous bad quality control. And the guitars, which was reflected in the fact that their guitars just wouldn't stay in tune. That was kind of a thing in the 70s. And people blamed the trem, so that, it had to be the trem that was re-engineered. And hence, the Floyd Rose was born. And the Carla system. Is it Carla or Kayla? I've never been quite sure how that one's pronounced. And let's say the locking trem unit became a thing. But the thing is, if you have a well-sorted non-locking trem, then it stays in tune really good. I mean, listen to the sort of trem abuse that Guthrie Govan does on a non-locking trem. It just seems like it's an over-engineered solution to a problem that could have been solved with just decent quality control on Fender's part. Oh, Bottleneck Bob, you're going to see Whitesnake. Good for you, mate. Band I've never seen live. And, I suppose I'll probably never will nowadays. 5 guitar accessories I hate to fiddle with. Yeah, it's... I just... That's the thing. I don't want to bang on too much about Floyd Rose trems, but, I bought into the whole thing. And, when you're a struggling, starving student, when you're, as I was in the 80s, and you're reading all the guitar magazines and every guitar had a Floyd Rose on it, it's the thing you aspire to. It's the thing that you want. And then when I left college and finally started working, and I was able to afford to buy myself some nice guitars, you buy these things, and I just had 3 or 4 guitars on the bounce that had Floyd Rose trems, and it was just like, really? Is this really the anyway, I don't like them. Anyway, yes, Bob. David Coverdale is looking his age. I don't think he is, really, though, is he, Bob? I mean, if he's 70-year-old, I mean, there's not a grey hair in sight. How on earth does he manage that? Anyway, what else you been talking about? Oh, John Little is saying, use soft graphite art pencil for lubrication, less messy than powder. Yeah, that was kind of sort of part what I was saying, an art pencil, but I didn't bother. I still ground it up into powder. Do you know what, Graham? That's a comment I could have typed there. I had a heavy metal Strat in the 80s, took it to a gig, broke a string. It was so much hassle, I soon swapped it for a telly. And, I had one of the first run of, because they reissued them a couple of years ago, didn't the heavy metal Strats? I had a neon pink Fender heavy metal Strat, and it was the Carla Spider tremolo, I remember, on that, which was sort of the Carla version of the Floyd Rose. And I loved that guitar because it was the first guitar I had with a locking trem, and it was my first Fender guitar. It was like a twofer, and dear me, I love that guitar. And I soon learned not to love it because of the hassle with break a string, all the others are out of tune. Okay, let's check me diary for a free afternoon to put a new E string on. Oh, Colm Cross, thank you so much. You're a gentleman, mate. Irish Stew is saying, are you going to get a string butler for the Les Paul? That was something I was thinking about, but here's the thing. Uniquely for a Les Paul style guitar, that one holds its tuning like really properly well. I had a little bit of a heart-stopping moment a few days ago where I was on a Zoom call with somebody and I was showing them the new acquisition, the Les Paul, and I put it back on the stand, and basically it topped over and went clang straight on the floor. And one of those things that when you're seeing it's in slow motion, that kind of thing that we've all seen. And it not only did it not cause any damage, thank heaven, but it didn't even knock the guitar out of tune. It is pretty bulletproof, the tuning on that Les Paul, which is, bulletproof tuning Les Paul. There's a phrase that you don't often hear too often, but it holds its tuning really well. Just trying to think, the guitar I had, the three-a-side headstock guitar, because those are usually the ones that suffer tuning issues. The one that I probably will put a string butler on is, let me just move that guitar there, the Larry Carlton H7. Beautiful guitar, but I think it does need a string butler on there. It's the G and D strings tend to be a little bit, you're playing and you think, okay, yeah, that sounds a bit wobbly, and you go and check the tuning, and it's it's gone. So let me just have a Bulletproof Les Paul, good name for a guitar. Isn't there a YouTube channel, Bulletproof Guitar? I think I seem to remember seeing videos from that at some point or other. Is Mickey Moody's slide guitar solo on the White Snake Live just about the worst slide solo of all time? I think that's a bit cruel, Rob, to be honest. I don't. I mean, I listened to that. I was listening to it yesterday morning, in fact, live in the heart of the city, and kind of we all listen with our own interpretations. Let's put it that way. And I don't find it in any way deficient, I got to say. But each to their own, I suppose. That is a great live album, though, isn't it? Live in the heart of the city. What a great, gritty blues rock live album. It's that for me is my era of Whitesnake, when they went all sort of poodle perm and spandex and pointy headstocks, and Adrian Vandenberg and Is This Love and all of that kind of, and when they redid Fool for Your Loving, dear me, just no, sorry, not for me. Oh, you're sticking by it, are you, Rob? Well, that's we're each entitled to our opinions. That is the thing with music. It's the thing that it makes it so personal and so It's one man's meat is another man's poison, I got to tell you, and I just think it's the way that people can fall out over music, I think, is a bit sad, really. I mean, I occasionally have a little bit of banter, and I'm kind of talking about Floyd Rose trems and stuff like that. And I did that video a while ago, a couple of years now, 5 bands I don't get. a lot of people misinterpreted that as being me kind of saying, if you like this band, then you're wrong. That's not what I was saying at all. It's just, it was like, change my mind, tell me why this band are great. And I can't even remember what they were now. I remember Radiohead and Rush were on that list. But each to their own, as they say. Oh, I love the new version of Here I Go Again, Poodle Perms as well. Oh, well, fair enough. But the thing is, there were two versions, weren't there? There was because there was the original version, and then there was like the sort of revamped version, and then there was another version with a different guitar solo that was, a different mix or whatever it was. But I seem to remember there were two reworked versions of it. Let's have a look. What are we talking about? The most divisive argument is Beatles versus Stones, I reckon. Well, yeah, I mean, or if you're if like me, you're a huge fan of Pulp Fiction, then you know that you're either a Beatles man or a Stones fan, a Beatles man or an Elvis man. Although, is that only on the DVD extras? I can't remember. But I think that it's one of the great what ifs, because the Stones continued and the Beatles split up. What would the Beatles have done? In an alternative universe, would the Beatles have reinvented themselves in the way that the Stones did? Because the Stones even did disco, didn't they? Miss You. In the, I guess Kiss did as well. Did a disco tune as well. But it's one of those things that sometimes when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, and you pointless thoughts are running through your head. It's like, what would have happened if the Beatles had continued? Because I think, if kind of management and business affairs had been managed differently, they made, get to about 1970, they could have taken a couple of years off and regrouped, and I think they could have come back as a stronger band. I don't know. It's just, as I say, one of the great what ifs. Yes. Wings, only the band the Beatles could have been, courtesy of Alan Partridge. But on the question of Beatles versus Stones, while they were kind of contemporaries, I would go Beatles all day long. But that's not to say I think the Stones really hit their stride in the early 70s. The sort of Exile on Main Street era, that is just a fantastic album. Just the whole kind of, I don't want to say production, but the loose kind of feel on that's an album that just could not get recorded today, with everything sort of time aligned and on the grid and pitch corrected and everything. It's just, I think it's just that for me is and Sticky Fingers and Goat's Head Soup and that kind of era of the Stones for me is just up until about Tattoo You, which was, what was that? That was about 1980, wasn't it? With was that the album that Start Me Up came from? Can't remember. Oh, I see. We've got the Paul McCartney conspiracy in there. Paul died in a Mini in '66. Yes, well, yes, either that or he was abducted by aliens who also kidnapped Shergar as well. Or anyway, enough about that. What else are we talking about? Could be, but what about Greta Van Fleet being accused of copying Led Zepp, who were a bit fond of pinching from other folks themselves. Whole lot love nicked from small faces. I love Greta Van Fleet. I make no bones about it. They're coming for a lot of flack. But I don't know if it's their latest album or the most recent album, but certainly the most recent one that I've got, Battle at Gardens Gate, I just think it's a future classic. And it's like, okay, so they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, but they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin on the first album, and each album, because there was From the Fires was the first album, and then Battle at Gardens Gate, they're sounding less like them. It reminds me actually of the Black Crowes, who, their first album, Shake Your Moneymaker, everybody, I mean, I love that album, but all of the kind of retro snobs were saying, oh, they're just ripping off the Stones. But it takes time for a band to find their feet and to kind of develop their own voice. And I worry actually that that's not the case in today's music industry, because a band aren't nurtured. Record labels these days don't give a band the room to mature and nurture them and kind of develop their own voice. They'll get like a one album deal, and if that album isn't like a massive success, well, sorry, you're out the door. But back in the days when like especially the Black Crowes came out, they were allowed to develop, and now they don't sound like they're just ripping off kind of southern rock and Stones influences at all. Not that I don't think they did back then, but that's what they were accused of. But then again, you see, a lot of people conveniently forget that Stevie Ray Vaughan was often accused of plagiarizing Jimi Hendrix. That is. I remember reading, articles in guitar magazines and so on saying, I remember one that said "yawn," another rehash of old Hendrix tropes about one of his albums, and then obviously we tragically we lost Stevie, and then suddenly everybody that had been slagging him off when he was alive is suddenly getting a bit revisionist about it, which I think is a little bit, two-faced, to be honest. What we're talking about? Where are we? That's a good question. Which of the Beatles' solo careers did you like the best, John? I'm going to say George Harrison. Not by a country mile, not by a long shot, but George Harrison's solo stuff. I got back into George Harrison because I sort of knew the Beatles stuff, obviously, and I think I had, I can't remember the name of the album, but one of his solo albums from the 70s, and enjoyed it and everything. But then when he came out with that Cloud 9 album, I thought that was a fantastic album. Got My Mind Set on You and all that sort of stuff on that album. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant album. Excuse me. Anyway, chaps, I'm lagging behind here. I'm talking too much and not drinking enough. That's not a good state of affairs for a Friday night. All Things Must Pass. Thank you, H. Garcia. That is that's the album I was trying to think of. And I just think, Lennon and McCartney were great songwriters. But if you've watched that mammoth Beatles documentary that was on Disney Plus just at the turn of the year, what was it called? I can't remember, but anyway, you know the one I mean. It's incredible just how much George Harrison, by the time we got to that period of the Beatles, how much his songwriting had developed and how much of a mature songwriter had become. and I think he continued that, as a solo artist in a way that, I mean, did John and Paul ever really kind of continue that trajectory throughout their solo careers? I'm not sure they did. What about Ringo for Thomas the Tank Engine? Yes. Sorry, I haven't given you much flakage this evening, have I? Get Back, that's it, Jimmy James. Where are we? So I want to get a new guitar, and I'm torn between the contemporary Jaguar or the contemporary Telecaster. Well, ask me to choose between a Jag and a Telecaster, then it's going to be Telecaster all day long. I've just realised we haven't had the gratuitous Blondie shot this evening, have we? Because, there we go. Yeah, as you can tell, I am something of a Telecaster fan. It has to be said. Time Prophet reckons Eleanor Rigby is the best Beatles song. It's a good one, and it's, if you watch a documentary, actually, it's up on YouTube. I can't remember what it's called, but if you just search Howard Goodall, Lennon and McCartney, or Howard Goodall, the Beatles. Howard Goodall is a like a respected composer and music pundit, and done loads of kind of TV scores and stuff. Watch that documentary, just Howard Goodall, the Beatles, and he breaks down a lot of iconic Beatles songs, and I would say, yeah, Eleanor Rigby is a good one, but for me, it's got to be Penny Lane. That would be, like, if I had to pick one Beatles, or if I was, the old Desert Island Discs thing, if I was going to be marooned on a desert island and I had to pick a Beatles tune as one of the tunes I could listen to for my the rest of my days on this desert island, then it would be the Beatles tune I would pick would be Penny Lane. Can you do a review of both guitars to help me make up my mind? Says King Copycat. Yeah, well, if I can get my hands on them, mate, a contemporary Telly and a contemporary Jag, it's I don't know. Basically, I will do my best, but it depends what I get the opportunity to review. Tom Culhane saying She's Leaving Home, underrated track from Sgt. Pepper. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Rob. I remember seeing Stanley Jordan playing Eleanor Rigby. There used to be a music show, a TV show in the UK that used to go out round about this time now, 5 p.m. on a Friday. It was called The Tube. And they introduced this unknown American jazz guitar player called Stanley Jordan, who had this unorthodox method of playing, tippity-tappity, both hands on the neck kind of thing. And he did this version of Eleanor Rigby, and I remember thinking, yeah, that's incredible. But did it really kind of, once I'd got past the technique involved, did it really, make me think, wow, I need to hear more of this music? It didn't, to be honest. Aldi Meola has released 2 excellent guitar Beatles albums. I shall have to check those out. Colin's saying, I have 2 contemporary tellies, however, they're both tweaked a tad. Okay. Well, we shall have to see, Colin, if I can get my hands on a Jaguar to do a comparison. Where are we? Let's have a look, see what's been going on while I've been blethering. Oh, there's lots of debate going on here about the best Beatles song. And Fool on the Hill, says Brad Matthews. Yeah, they did do some straight rock and roll tunes too. Johnny Random 100 is saying, why does the melodic minor scale differ as it ascends to descends? You, Johnny Random, sir, have just hit upon one of the 5 biggest music myths that I'm going to be busting a week on Tuesday, on Tuesday. So watch that video and you'll find out why. The short answer, spoiler alert, is that every music textbook will tell you that the melodic minor has one set of notes going up and a different set of notes coming down. But find me a piece of music based on the melodic minor scale that actually adheres to that and win a guitar, because that's something that's bugged me for the last 30 years, and I've looked and hunted and high and low and found no evidence to suggest that that is the way the melodic minor scale is used in practice. So it just doesn't do that. Because if you think about it, okay, right, so you've got a scale that's got one set of notes on the way up and another set of notes on the way down. Which set of notes do you build the chords out of? You know, because obviously you're going to be playing a piece of music based on that scale. It's going to have a chordal accompaniment of some kind. So, you know, how do you decide which set of notes to build the chords out of? What happens if the melody changes direction? You know, it uses these notes going in this direction, those notes going in that direction. What happens to the chords? It just doesn't work like that, mate. What's his name? Tommaso, I think he's called, from Music Theory for Guitar, did a video about this a little while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, where he tackled exactly the same point. So it doesn't do that. Textbooks will tell you that it does, but in the real world, it doesn't. What about classical music? I think that's where it comes from. Right, okay. The whole thing, right, with the melodic minor scale, I'll finish off on a little bit of a lesson. I'm not plugged in at the moment. Let me just plug in. And I've got a sound going on here, and I'll just kind of go through this briefly. Point the camera down so you can see. Right. Okay, so if I play like an ascending, just natural minor scale, Aeolian mode, that's going to sound like this, okay? Okay, then they realised that it sounded, when you're getting towards the top end of the scale, it sounded better if you sharp the 7th note. That gives us the harmonic minor scale. But then, you see, you've got between the 6th note and the 7th note, you've got a minor third gap, which can be awkward to play. So why not move that 6th note up a semitone? So you've now got, you haven't got that minor third gap anymore. Like that. But then for some reason, it's like, well, okay, well, we'll just play the regular natural minor on the way down. And that works so long as you are playing over just a single drone like I was doing there. But as soon as you have chords involved, that sort of just falls apart, really. So the way the melodic minor scale tends to be used these days is you use modes of the melodic minor scale as a way of covering certain situations in jazz. And as soon as I've said the jazz word, haven't I? So that's half the audience gone. But you know, it's trust me, don't worry about that kind of ascending and descending difference in the melodic minor scale, because it's not the way it's used in reality. And with that, chaps, we are coming up to the end of the stream, and I'm getting peckish, and there is a kebab on its way. So I'm going to go and finish my beer and go and wait for me kebab. So once again, thank you one and all, 208 of you at current count, for turning up and watching a fat bald northern bloke talk rubbish and drink beer for an hour. It's been a blast, as it always is, but I'll leave you now with time, gentlemen, please.